Hello everyone, welcome. This is Karthik from iTeLearn. Thank you so much for joining Python training team. So we are on the first day, very first day for a new batch. So a lot to do and a lot to learn from the whole world of programming. But before we get there, team, let's kind of talk about a few things. Okay. So there is one way to learn any programming. Okay, and this is typically what we have been accustomed to, and briefly I'm going to cover. We will talk about who and when it was founded slash created. All right, and then we talk about why it was created, what are the features within it, and then how you go about writing Python code. Now, this is a great approach, Tim, absolutely, but it's very lackluster. And this learn any programming in a lackluster way. You don't have too much of interest in what is it that we're doing. My approach is going to be very simple, team. One, take a project, execute it using Python. That's about it. And what we're going to do is as a repetitive cycle. So your project one is a small mini assignment. Then your two will become a little larger. And three will become more complex. This is what will give you a hands-on experience on how to become a good programmer, team. A lot of tips and tricks in terms of how and what we will talk about, team, I'm not at all interested. There's only one thing. There is a core programming skill. So if you go to a computer science training or engineering, or if you've been in a MCA kind of a program, or anything that has got a lot of involvement into how computers were built or how programs were built, you would know that the core program skill is irrespective of what language. So when we talk about a programming language, team, it is just like a human language. It is used to communicate and do things together. That is what languages are. So we are able to communicate to each other and we are able to go about doing things together. Now, team, out of the audience, I don't know how many of you have real programming experience or you've worked on any kind of a coding projects earlier. Where does it start from, team? So let's keep this aside and we will start with a project one. Okay, Python project one. What is the first step in any project when we talk about a project? Let's talk about simple projects that are not very complex. Something that you and I, we've kind of been exposed to, that can be using tools that we've already worked with. What is it that we talk about? The first and foremost thing, it originates with a pain. A pain basically tells that there is something that is not working correctly. We are feeling that this specific process or activity can be done better. That pain then gets translated into a requirement. Now, a requirement basically gives a clarity to a solution. As to a requirement helps in building a solution. All right, so that is your basic approach, team. So we're going to divide these into these three main categories. So what is the project pane. Let's talk about this. And for this team, I've kind of went through a lot of things that can make things easy for our learning. But finally, I've realized that it has to be as simple so that it is something we can digest. Our focus should be on Python and not in terms of learning what this project is all about. So we'll keep something very simple. Now, here's my requirement. Please listen to this as to what the requirement is. A, I have my few contacts in Gmail, let's say. All right. And then I also have few contacts in my iPhone. So very specifically, I'm saying where they are right now. I want to merge them all into one contact sheet. Now, is this a pain or a requirement, team? Can anyone tell me? And that is where a lot of times we get confused as to what we're trying to do there. Is this a pain or a requirement? Can anyone tell me? Team, I would love an active audience that will really help to breeze us through. What is it, team? I have few Gmail contacts, I have iPhone contacts. I want to merge them into one contact sheet. I'm giving you a clear requirement. You have no clue of why it is coming. You have no clue of, uh, you know, who is it going for, nothing. So this actually becomes more of a requirement. And that is a fundamental mistake that we all start with, where we're saying that this is my requirement. Then what is my pain? Can you now tell me that now that you've heard what the pain could be? If this is going to be the requirement, then what could the pain be? And then we'll talk about a solution. How to merge contacts is again a problem statement. It is not a pain statement. So very simple. I have a pain, I have a requirement, I have a solution. Okay, let's look at it this way. Let us say, very literally, my pain is my head hurts. Okay, my requirement is I need something to take to stop my head from hurting. So my solution is to go and take a Tylenol or maybe just take a nap. That could be my solution to it. My pain here is very hard for me to merge to send or contact, or let's put it this way. Okay, I need to upload my contacts to a new social network. However, my contacts are not in the expected format. Over this, I have them stored both in Gmail, in G and iPhone. This becomes my pain, a very direct pain for a simple user. All right, we're not talking Teams or IT or anything. So I have few contacts in Gmail, I have few contacts in my iPhone. I want to merge them all into one contact sheet. Now, there comes then certain criteria, okay, or areas where we have to be more cautious about, where one is do not lose any data. So if there is data where we have instead create a new record. So we're not losing any data. Rather, criteria is do not lose any data. That is one. All contacts in one format. Few fields may be empty. You can't help it. When you're merging it, there are few fields that will remain to be empty. Now that becomes my project requirement. Is that clear, team? Are we all in line so far? Now, what is my project solution? Can someone kind of walk me through it? How do we come up with a project solution? Now, one of the first things about a project solution is we talk about what tools or techniques to use. Now, in this case, let us say I've decided to do this manually. All right, great for once, but what if I need to do this every week? Then I have a challenge. What else is there? Write a program. Can Python or Java or any other programming language do this? That becomes our specific question, team. Now, the reason I'm 100% sure that it should be able to do this is only one simple thing, team. The whole of IT that you look at, what is IT, team? IT is nothing but information technology. Your information is your data. All right. So these programming languages are expert at handling the data, team, and that becomes very important. So when we talk about anything to do with data, one of the primary things these programming languages have come together to perform is data. What kind of a data? It started with simple bookkeeping of financial records. Hey, I want to know how much money is coming in and going out. There were ledgers that were being maintained. Now they said, hey, why maintain it in physical copies? Let's put them onto a cloud, onto a system, onto a floppy disk or a hard drive. So we had to convert them into formats, team. You understand? So the physical ledger book maybe had 5 columns, but when they started uploading it into old databases, Access and beyond and so on, they had to increase the number of columns. So it could handle a lot of this information. Sorry. So in our case, very simple. We cannot take manual because of this issue that I have to keep doing it every week. We have no patience for being able to do it. So if we're looking at it, our choice is very simple. Let's do Python. Okay. And then I will show you easy to redo in Java and C# too later. Absolutely. Why not? This will be very, very interesting thing to get there. Now, how is it that we will approach? Okay, so as part of the solution, we're saying I have the requirement, I know the basic things, the tool is Python. So Python has to help me do it. I have no clue of Python. One of the first things when it comes to programming, team, is called logic. Okay, so we've gone through the pain, we've gone through a basic of requirement, and you'll see these requirements will keep getting tweaked as we go along. The user has a pain, requirement, solution, and now so in the solution we're talking Python, and programming step one is, why did I say logic? Login, it was supposed to be logic. Logic, understanding in a bare minimum steps. Okay, And we will go about this team. Bear is not a bear. Team, can someone help me? Which is a bear? Bear like very few. Is it B-A-R-E? Right? It's not B-E-A-R, right? B-A-R is like a polar bear or a brown bear. In as few steps as possible. Bear, thank you. All right, great. Then comes step 2 would be a an algorithm. Okay, an algorithm is basically logic that we can repeat um, so basically with different parameters, and I'll talk a lot about it. Maybe I'm not mentioning it in a very strict English manner, but the difference is very simple. There is logic in this algorithm. In this, our main focus is to break this down. Now, here is how we go about building logic team. Okay, break the process down into as many steps as possible. Okay, assume it is being first done manually. Then we will understand each step. Okay, and write the first basic code. So this is what we will get into team. So how do we break it down into the manual process? Okay, manual process for what project is this? Let's give this project a name. Python project 1, ting, 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 merge contacts. See? All right, merge contacts, merge contacts. Where are we? Step 1, logic, algorithm, here, okay. Are you all with me, team? I know I might disappoint a few of you that have not opened any of these Python editors and got into it. I want you to understand this, then everything else will become easy. Merge contacts. So that's my manual process. Okay. Now, very important, most important, write in as many steps as possible. Okay. Now, I'll explain this to you, team. Programming is nothing but giving an instruction to an external thing, nothing artificial intelligent about these things. It is a basic execution. We tell it to do something, we have pre-defined as to what it can do. It has to perform that for me. All right. That is an instruction. Now, when I give an instruction to my, let us say, a friend or any of you, I don't have to say everything. Say, for example, I can say, Reena, can you send me a message? And maybe she is. If I say, Radhika, can you send me a message? And she is sending me a message back to me, right? Uh, for a computer program, it is absolutely dumb because all computers are primarily dumb. So then why is it that they can do things? Why are it that programs are winning over it? Only because they're efficient, they're accurate, and we can rely on them very strongly, team. All right. So these kind of keep repeating as to why we go back to programming. Now, project, okay, we wrote some notes, merge contact. So what is the step 1? Step, how do I write steps? Okay. Get the first sheet. Okay, get the second sheet. Look at columns, merge them for info. Now this becomes an approach. Is it correct or not, team? If the same problem is given to a dozen developers, you would see a dozen different varieties of approach. Maybe some codes may look almost similar, but as you go along, this code size increases, right? You will see drastic difference in how this coding is done. All right. Personally, do you think this is how it is? Get the first sheet. What do you mean get the first sheet? Okay, I think this is important. I need to have a first sheet. So let me create a folder here. C drive. I'm going to create it here. New folder Python July 2019. Ting, ting, ting. New. Let's put it in an Excel sheet, everyone. Simple Excel spreadsheet. Okay. I'll say this is my Gmail contacts. Fair enough. And here, let me add a few rows. So let's say I have name here. I have an email here. First name, last name, email. These are the three columns that I have, for example. Okay. And let's give some data into it. I'm just building very quick data templates, team. We're going to work on this for the next 4 to 5 days. So it's wise to focus from the beginning. All right. So this is my main template, team. Everyone clear about this? I'm assuming that no one has an issue. What is the first name, last name, email? What is this Excel? Why would Gmail contacts have such things? Any questions on that? No, right? That's an assumption I've made. I'm moving along accordingly. Okay. Now, let's give a few names. Is it okay if I take some names from the team? I'm going to take Snita. I'll just say A. I'll say Param B. And C. Okay, so this I'll keep it simple, team. N.m at N. I'll just say so that it's there. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. To make things easy, I'm going to take the same one and put it for all. All right, not the same email address. This is P.B M.C J.D. All right, great. So this is my first sheet with 4 contacts, 5 rows, but 4 contacts. So this, I think I can just save it. Now I say, let me take the same sheet and I'll say save as, and instead of Gmail contacts, this is gonna be my iPhone contacts. So what is it that I will have differently? Oh, sorry. Yes, N.A. So, oops. Let's open Gmail contacts. Here I have to make it N.A just to keep things standard. Thank you for letting me know, team. Gmail contacts is done. iPhone contacts we're working on. In iPhone contacts, let's say I don't have first name, last name, number 1. Okay. So instead of last name, I have a number and nothing else. Now I'm going to do a couple of things here, team. I'm going to delete 2 records. I'm going to add 3 more records. Okay, here I'll just say E. Then we have F. Oopsie. What am I doing? No, why am I writing ADEF here? I'm merging it manually. No. So let's say it's just a 4-digit number team. That's all we're caring for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, these are my numbers. Now I have both these sheets created. Now, when it comes to the logic team, so look at it, get the first sheet, get the second sheet, look at columns. How can you just look at columns and put it? We're talking about a manual process. Now, first and foremost thing, team, try and repeat this manually. Repeat the process manually. So you understand what is it that we're trying to do. So I'm going to open both these Excels right now. Gmail contacts and iPhone contacts. I'm going to split my screens so that I can accommodate both of these. And here are my contacts. Now comes the actual logic thing. How do we merge things together? So they will say one way, okay, are we in a competition to see who is going to create the correct code or the most fastest code right now, team? It's almost like you're getting into swimming on day one and you're saying, I want to first swim fastest, then we'll talk about swimming, right? So don't do that, team. Please don't go against speed. You know what? There is this faster way, there is that faster way. No, don't. The logic can improve over a period of time on how you think and how you can implement. This is where you take your baby steps. All right, team? So now, if I have to do this, look at my manual thinking. I have 3 columns here, I have 2 columns here. One column matches. There are 2 columns additional here, there's 1 column here. So I can do one thing, option A for me. When I say look at columns, merge them for info, option A is, how about I take all of this information and put it into the other one. Take one sheet data and put into the other sheet. Okay. Option B is, what could be the option B? Say, I mean, you can put iPhone to Gmail or Gmail to iPhone is the same thing, correct? So that's only one option. So there are two here, in fact. Gmail to iPhone or iPhone to Gmail. Now, when we are very conservative to think and we have that apprehension, hey, my code will mess up things, I'm not sure, I don't want to really touch this. Is there a better way? Anyone can think of a better option, team? What could be any other options? So I can think of taking this data and putting it. Of course, we don't know how to put it, but still we have to put this data one by one or all together, correct? Any other ideas? Suma, thank you. Yes, that's a brilliant way. Team, no? Come on, guys. Either you're sleeping or you're not involving. Let me see who all are attentive. Almost all of you, except for one who's seeing a different screen. All right, very simple, team. Option B is build a new sheet and move into this third sheet. You see what I'm saying, team? So I have Excel 1, I have Excel 2. We have these options, all right? Or I'm saying let's create an Excel 3. Now, when we're creating Excel3, let us be cautious. There's a first name here, there's a last name here, and there's an email here. Correct, everyone, for our Gmail? And in Excel2, there's a first name and phone number for our iPhone. Correct? Now, in the merged sheet, what is it that we must have? In a merged sheet, what is it that we must have? We should have the first name, but last name only a few are there. Then what can I do? Let's go back and look at the requirements once. There are the requirements. Do not lose any data. All contacts in one format. Few fields may be empty. There you go. So we are fine with it, correct? And hence, let's see, I can put first name, last name has come. So this is done. This is done. Email and phone number. And then what will we do? Next thing. So let's talk about putting this logic into our small solution that we are talking here. Where is it? Option B. Okay. So in this option B, what are the steps? New sheet name. Let's give it a new sheet name, team. Some name at the end of it will give, right? All contacts or merged contacts. All contacts is fine. All contacts are fine. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, we have union. We'll talk about sets also. That's a nice way to put that. Okay, then what we're doing, add all columns, column names. Oopsie. Column names from X1. Okay. Then should we again add all column names from X2 team? Should we do this? Should we again add all column names from X2 from the second Excel? No. Add, so this, strike through, add only new column names from X2 to X3. Add all column names from X1 to X3. Who will write that? So this is strike through. How do we strike through a text? Somewhere here. Ding, 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 ding. Format, text, strike through. There you go. So now we have the format created, team. So you basically then have created an X, something like this, Control N. So the logic, very simple. Team, and please do understand the fact that the reason I'm spending this effort of going through the logic is very critical. I wouldn't do it otherwise. All right. So Control C. No, this is X2 for us. Let's take this. Control C. Control V. Okay. I'm not getting all the data, team. Forget the data for now. Leave the data alone. Next, first name is there, last name is there, email is there, just number. So I take the number and I put it here. And let's expand this and save this back as all contacts. Fair enough. So I have now 3 sheets. Do note, let's make sure that we write, do not copy data, only column names. Now comes the next logic, team. Once we build this logic, we will then start coding. The another very important thing, team, that you need to know, okay, what we used to do very, very strongly is code at the very end. do a lot of logic and flow in a paper, okay, or slash in your brain. When you run the first time, your goal must be a successful, sorry, 1 second, team. I'm sorry about that. All right, so you get the logic, everything written down somewhere, and when you run it the first time, your goal must be a successful execution. No syntax or runtime errors. That should be our goal, team. And of course, we will take this in stages. Now comes in option B, how to copy data. How to copy data to X3. That's my fifth step. Whatever. Okay, I don't like this. How to go copy data to X3. For this, we primarily are going to do one thing, team. So one at a time, from our Gmail contacts, iPhone contacts, I have these. Okay. What's the logic, team? Let's think through. I have 3 sheets. Where's my third sheet? Is that open? All contacts is there? Good. Can I just do this? Manually, what is my process? First, I will take row 1. I'll put it up here. I'll put all the rows 1 to 2 in the corresponding columns, team. So let's take x1 into x2 and put it into the corresponding columns. Okay. Take x1 data and copy into x3 and into the corresponding columns. Okay, so that's what we're doing. X1 data into. Okay, so this is done. Now comes the other part of the logic, team, and this is where we need to be very, very smart about how we think through things. How do we get the next x2 data into x3? Now comes x2 data into x3. How do we do this, team? If I do a regular copy, so by now what would have happened? I got all of this information here. This is my status, right? Oopsie. Control Z. Here. Okay, correct. Everything is here. Should I just copy the phone numbers from here to here? No. Then what should I do? So then what I should do is I should check first the first name here and see if the same first name exists here. So that's my first thing, team. Check if the first name exists. Check x2 first name. See if it exists in x1. If yes, then copy what? Phone number. This this will only work for 4 columns, 3 columns. If you keep adding more columns, it will start failing. But that's fine. We'll figure that out logic later. If yes, then copy number, no, the remaining column into X3. If not, so for example, we're saying Nita is there in my iPhone contacts. I have, this is the number, so I want to take this number and put it here. All right, do I have Jazz here? I have Jazz here, so I'm going to take this number and put it here. Now comes next, Rad. If Radhika is here and I don't see it here, so I have to take this data and put it here. See, and the same for, let's say Sudha is not there and Vijay is not there, so I have to take this data and put it here, but make sure the numbers come into the right column. This will be my output then, right everyone? So I have 2 empty cells here, 2 there, few here, and 3, so 6 to 8, 8 empty cells, and that's fine. But we've merged and we've retained the data. If not, then copy, then add X2 data as a new row into X3. All right. Now this is the logic team. As I built this logic, it is all our thinking analytically, logically as to what will come next, how will the user be looking at it, how do we want to position things. Only then are we able to create something like this. But team, believe me, a lot of us have challenges in building up this logic. Once the logic is built, programming is not that tough. Okay, now it will become easy for us to get into writing our first Python program, trying to identify how do we look at this data in a Python program, how can we talk about variables, how to store them, how can I put one data into the other, arrays, lists, then we'll get into how we can interact with an Excel, maybe read it and execute it. There will be more challenges, team, as the templates change, because right now the columns are fixed, so we know the certain things that are happening, but as they go on, we'll have to make sure all that is coming correctly. I think it should work as we improve it. So with this format, maybe our logic will work, but with a little changed format, maybe our logic needs to get tweaked or totally rebuilt, and that comes more and more as we implement the first version. So team, from my side, this is all I had in terms of what I wanted to give you as a day one, set you up on the project. And now let's take about 5 to 6 days in building this team. I would say at least 70–80% of it will be ready. I will showcase a few things to use which you may ignore, but the project will complete. I'll show how it works, and then we'll move on to second project. This should clear a lot of your logic on basic programming before we get stronger into OOPS. Any questions for me, please? I'm assuming this is going to be about 10 to 15 hours, 10 to 12 hours team overall, how we get into the Python programming. Then there's a lot that we will do using Python after that. In terms of the Python IDEs and so on, there are lots of choices. I'm still contemplating should I use PyCharm or PyDev through Eclipse? So if Eclipse is a comfortable platform for a lot of you and you used it, then we can do Python through Eclipse as well. So tomorrow I'm going to show a little bit about installations and how to get things started in a very simple manner, which you can do it at your end, and we'll start writing a first code. All right, team, that's it from my side. Then we'll see you all back tomorrow. Any questions, let me know. Feel free to call me or buzz me. Bye now. Take care. Bye, all of you. Thank you.